We'll move on to our team selections, and I'll come to you first. I assume everyone's going to go for Alisson in goal, and I suppose the back four has almost talked itself up as well, obviously, with that performance midweek.
Yeah, I don't see any particular reasons to change now. As I say, I think Kabak and Phillips have got to be given the chance to establish this partnership now between now and the end of the season. And if there are a couple of bumps in the road along the way, then so be it. You know, these are two young, inexperienced centre-backs who might not have a long-term future between them at Liverpool, but it's a sense of needs must. And to be fair, I think they've started 2 games together and kept 2 clean sheets, so fair play to them.
And Theo, would you make any changes? Is there any sort of option for someone like Ben Davies who's back fit? Is there any sort of changes you might make maybe with Kostas Tsimikas? We've seen him a couple of times off the bench. Or would you just sort of stick with the same back four and say, just go again?
Unchanged back four. Like, one of Liverpool's biggest issues this year in that defence has been the lack of consistency there. The fact that they haven't had a run of games for them to get used to each other, and it's not just the centre-backs, it's in front of the goalkeeper, and it's with the full-backs as well. Granted, Trent and Andy Robertson might have been a bit tired, having to play pretty much most weeks, but they've had enough rest after Leipzig, and they're going to have enough rest after Wolves to put in another shift, and it is about building those relationships. Granted, it's not going to be a back four we're going to see for Liverpool next season, but if it's going to be the one we're going to see for the rest of this season, you want it to be as stable as possible, and they get that from game time together.
Yeah, in total agreement here. And David, I suppose you're probably going to go with the same back four, but in terms of someone like Tsimikas, he's had obviously very limited opportunities this season. There is going to have to be a point where you do give him a bit of time on the pitch, but maybe not in this one.
Yeah, I think maybe the option for him and what Klopp will maybe look at it is maybe the next Liverpool game, before Premier League game before a Champions League game. I think that's where he'll maybe see. I don't think there's top four. I think it's probably long gone now. Even if Liverpool get on a great run, the teams are there's so many teams ahead of them. It's going to be difficult to leapfrog them all. So I think, yeah, maybe when that next Champions League tie comes around, then that's when you maybe see a couple of changes. Maybe we'll even see Ben Davies at that point finally. And Tsimikas, like you say, but until then, I think just try and get some consistency, like we say, into that back four now would probably be a good thing.
And Gorsty in midfield, there's a couple of options, as we alluded to earlier. There's Naby Keita in contention. Obviously, James Milner is there. Are you going to go for a three in midfield, and which three might they be?
Yeah, to be honest, without giving it all away, which I'm going to give it all away. I would think the Liverpool team, it'd be the same 11 for me, because we know that Jurgen Klopp doesn't like when you're playing of a Wednesday night and then you're playing of a Saturday, particularly Saturday morning. But with this game coming on the Monday night, Liverpool have had the best part of a week to rest and recover and properly analyse Wolves. So I don't think he will need to make too many changes, if any. So Fabinho back in the Fabinho role, if you like, Theo, with Wijnaldum and Thiago, and that's for all the problems that Liverpool have had this season, that's still a top class midfield trio, isn't it? So if they can get the upper hand in that midfield area, then you'd expect Liverpool to overcome Wolves. And with Jordan Henderson out, that is for me Liverpool's best midfield three.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to keep 2 of them the same. Thiago and Fabinho, I think, absolutely have to play. But I'm going to go with Naby Keita, give Gini Wijnaldum a rest, Theo. I think Keita, Fabinho, Thiago could be an exciting trio in the middle of the pitch.
Potentially, you want to see Keita get more game times. And if you're leaving out Curtis Jones, that's incredibly harsh considering how well he's played this season. But I'm with Gorsty, just keep it the same. Waited so long for Liverpool to put in a good performance, and it's the best Gini Wijnaldum's played in weeks. It's the best Thiago's played all season. Why take them out? It's all very well saying the defence need that game time together, but when Liverpool have had so many injuries, that you want the midfield to have that relationship as well. When things have been up and down, stick with what you got. Naby Keita's time will come. Curtis Jones' time will come. But when you've had the time to recover and all this, just stick with what you've got. Liverpool need 3 points on the board. Top 4 is probably gone. The fact that they don't play the teams above them is a big hindrance. And it's one of those where on paper they could get a load of good results and go on a run against these teams below them. But that's who they've struggled against. They need every help they can get. And that's what you're going to get from stability and consistency from sticking with a winning team.
And even if there is the likes of Keita and Jones and Milner on the bench, David, that's a decent set of substitutes to be able to use as well. Are you going to go with the same three again, or change it up a little bit?
To be honest, I'm in agreement with you, Matt. I actually think maybe Keita in for Wijnaldum might be the change. I'm not really one of those people who would like to see Wijnaldum out the team, generally speaking, and I think Keita, his signing so far been so beset by injuries, hasn't he? It's really been sort of disappointing on the whole. But I think like we say, the idea of him getting a run of fixtures would be nice, and we know it's a top player. But I just think this time it's more a case of Wijnaldum it's like an experimentation on a human being. The limits he can go to in terms of games played in a row. It's absolutely incredible what he's got through this season. I just think let's not have him getting an injury towards the end of the season, particularly since there's hope of going slightly deeper in the Champions League. Just giving Wijnaldum a day off would feel really, really important for him. And if Naby Keita's fit and he's looked bright in those couple of cameos he's had recently, maybe give Wijnaldum the night off. I think he's absolutely earned it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we know what Gorsty and Theo's front threes are. David, are you going to go with the same as those two, or is there any sort of argument to bring Firmino back in?
Well, I think in Liverpool's play against Leipzig, there was, at times, even though Jota I thought played fantastically well, and really absolutely key to that opening goal, of course. There were moments where you sort of missed Firmino in sense of when Liverpool were playing into the final third, the ball would come back occasionally too often, just because Jota, in terms of if he's got a man on his back, is not Firmino in terms of holding the ball up. And, even though his play around the goal when he comes deep on the wing and he passes it back and he builds it from there, it's fantastic centre-forward play. I think when the man is slightly tighter behind him, he really struggles, which, most players would. I think both the other wingers are similar in that sense. So, I don't think it's perfect having those three together, but I think for this one, again, Firmino, even if he is available for it, I think you don't want to take any risks at this point, and you don't want to rush him back for anything. That's a difficult decision for further down the line. So I think for this game, maybe Jota just to keep his place in that front three, and even though it's not necessarily a perfect unit, there's so many goals in those three, isn't there? And they're really, really dangerous.
Yeah, Salah, Mane and Jota for me as well. I fancy Jota to get one against his former club, actually. Gorsty, I'll come to you first on a score prediction. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Liverpool win. What do you think it might be?
Yeah, I can see something similar, actually. I think I agree with what Lynch said earlier in the part about Liverpool taking the chances, because while it was quite refreshing to actually see them get the chances the other night, because they haven't even been getting that of late. It was still a little bit of a worry that it took them maybe 4 or 5 really good chances in before Salah stuck that one away. So I think they're going to have to be a little bit more clinical against the team who are probably going to be happier to defend. But I maybe can see possibly just nicking a 1-0.
Theo, I'll come to you next. Will Liverpool keep a clean sheet? What do you reckon?
I'm probably going to go 2-1 as well. It's just a hard one to see Liverpool getting the Premier League clean sheet. Granted, they've done it in the Champions League, but they have been harder to come by in domestic action this season, and Wolves are that threat on the counter-attack. For me, it's whoever gets the first goal. Like, if Liverpool get that first goal, you've got faith in them getting the job done. But if it's another first half without them scoring, with them missing chances, and then they fall behind, you do start to worry. But you like to think that this wins give them a bit more belief to get the job done, and with the options coming back. But yeah, a hard-fought, tight 2-1.
Yeah, and David, to finish us off, another Liverpool win, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think Wolves have sort of struggled for goals this season, haven't they? I think that's been an issue for them. I think they'll make things difficult and tight for Liverpool, but it's for them, scoring goals is much more of an issue really than it has been for Liverpool. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 to Liverpool.
Yeah, wins all round. It's been a little while since I think all 4 of us have predicted a win, but fingers crossed Liverpool can get that job done. That just about brings us to the end of the podcast today, though. We'll be back, of course, with the next Blood Red show on Tuesday next week after Liverpool play on Monday night. For now, though, from myself, Matt Addison, from Paul Gorst, David Lynch and Theo Squires, until next time here on the Blood Red channel, thank you for watching and listening, and goodbye for now.